polls are closed as Louisiana voters decide on 4 proposed constitutional amendments. Also, the District 1 Jefferson Parish Council seat is likely going to a runoff. 3 candidates were up for the seat this Saturday. Ricky Template, Tim Kerner Jr., and Andrew Emanuel. We're going to get into all of that and tell you where those races stand in just a few moments. But first, good evening. I'm Josh Robertson. It was a heated and sometimes contentious race between those 3 candidates. Jacob Bradford is live in Jefferson Parish on how this race is now shaping up. I think we have unofficially gotten all the precincts in, and this is a doozy. Jacob, what can you tell us about this race?
Well, I'll tell you that the 2 candidates that are going into a runoff are less than 100 votes apart. That's going to be Tim Kerner Jr. and Andrea Emanuel, the Republican and the Democrat, that are headed into a runoff in 6 weeks. Right now, like I said, they're less than 100 votes apart. It's 5,722 for Emanuel and 5,648 for Tim Kerner. Both have 36% of the vote, with Ricky Template coming in third with 28%, which is almost 4,500 votes. But like you said, Josh, this was a contentious race. There was a lot of mudslinging, a lot of personal attacks that came into this one. So a lot of the voters that I've spoken to throughout the day have said that they're happy that this is coming to an end and that we can finally figure out kind of who our district person is out here. But now we have to wait for that runoff that's in 6 weeks. But we did speak to both candidates, and this is what they had to say just a few moments ago.
I'm so excited, especially thank you to all of the voters in District 1 that came out and spoke. Their voices have been heard, they are valued, and the most important thing is they're ready for a fresh start.
Look, I'm just overwhelmed by the support I had. I had 2 very good candidates against me. I wish the best for Ricky Template. He served Jefferson Parish for many years. He did some good things. And but look, I'm thankful, but I still have 6 weeks left of campaign, and this is not over yet. And look, I'm just hoping at the end of this we have a united West Bank, more united forever, not just with words but with actions. And that's what I want to see the West Bank. I want to see a united West Bank where everyone gets a fair chance, every neighborhood gets looked at.
And I asked both of them how they plan on spending the next 6 weeks. Tim Kerner said that he plans on going door to door, knocking on everybody's doors, asking them what their opinion is. Andrea Emanuel said the same thing, that she's going to go on a listening tour for the next 6 weeks, so that way she knows what to campaign on. So both are very excited for this outcome, the chance to go ahead and run it in a runoff. So both of them say for the next 6 weeks, it's a lot of hard work that's going to be in front of them. Reporting live in Gretna, Jacob Bradford, Fox 8, Local First.
All right, definitely a bit of a shocker there in Jefferson Parish. But let's also talk about the 4 Louisiana constitutional amendments that were decided today. These were on the ballot for all voters across the state of Louisiana. We're not going to waste too much time on them because at this point it looks like it's going to be a no for all 4 across the board. Amendment 1 changes the specialty courts and discipline of lawyers, particularly out-of-state lawyers. Some of the changes for that were up. Voters went ahead and said no to that. Let's check Amendment 2. Amendment 2 is going to be a no also, most likely. Again, these are unofficial numbers, but at this point, most of the precincts are reporting, and it's looking like it's going to be a no for this one, too. This was the tax overhaul, budget overhaul. This was a big one for Governor Jeff Landry, a big loss for him. This was something he was pushing for really the start of the year. They had a special session about it. Up on the ballot for Amendment 2, going to be a no, most likely. Let's go ahead and go to Amendment 3 here. Another no, 66% said no for this one. Prosecution of juveniles as adults would have changed some of the crimes that would trigger that for juveniles to be tried as adults. That's going to be a no, too. And we'll check Amendment 4 for you real quick. And that's going to be 63% say no to changing to timing requirements for special elections or of judges. So going to be a no likely on that one, too. We want to touch on another one, too. In St. Tammany Parish, voters decided on a measure that would redirect some of the revenue from an existing sales tax to support the criminal justice system. At this point right now, it might be too close to say 52% are saying no to this, but it says we're only reporting 128 out of 165 precincts. So maybe not 100% sure which way we're leaning, because it is pretty close right there. Now, we do want to get to Dillard University political analyst Dr. Robert Collins, who's joining us in studio. Dr. Collins, so we talked a lot about those amendments at the top of the 9 o'clock hour as we were waiting on the district seat, Jefferson Parish. Only going to affect Jefferson Parish, obviously, who gets that District 1 seat, but that's a bit of a shocker Andrea coming through there and forcing a runoff.
This is the shock of the night. You know, Manuel spent almost no money. She didn't really, she had no television spots. She basically got into a race with two established politicians who each spent literally hundreds of thousands of dollars on this race. If you talk to people in the district, they were bombarded with direct mail. They were bombarded with television ads. She didn't do any of that. She just took advantage of the free media that she got, talking to journalists. And then, of course, she went door to door in the district. Now, but this is definitely a shock. Now, I would point out one thing about this district. This district, if you look at the demographics, is actually 36% black. So this is a 36% black district. So I'm assuming that her strategy was she probably went into those black neighborhoods in Marrero, in Harvey, probably went door to door, and she made sure that she turned her vote out.
That was, and I'm looking here, we're now, because according to the SOS website, the numbers are official at this point. Jefferson Parish has been called, so it looks like 42% of the vote came from Democrats. And I mentioned this to you too, if you think this had anything to do with it. You know, it did get contentious. You talked about the money spent between Ricky Templett and Tim Kerner Jr. It almost felt like this was almost a sure thing between these two guys, and that Andrea kind of was going to be a third place, but it just didn't turn out that way. She got more votes than any of the three, but her and Tim Kerner Jr. both 36%. That's what's triggering the runoff. But do you think the mudslinging? I know they say all press is good press. Yeah. But I don't know if that's the case this time. Do you feel
I think there were two issues here. I think it got so negative that it just turned a lot of people off. And of course, none of the negativity was directed to her, so she could stay above it all. I had a friend of mine who's a school teacher that lives in the district that today told me he was going to vote for Kerner, but as he went to the polls today, he decided to vote for Manuel as a protest vote. He didn't think she had any shot at all of winning, but it was a protest vote. He couldn't vote for Templett. He couldn't vote for Kerner. He said, "I'm going to vote for Manuel. I know I'm throwing away my vote, but I'm going to vote as a protest vote." His protest vote, and I'm sure a lot of other protest votes, put her into first place.
That is, again, the shocker of the night is the fact that we now have a runoff between Andrea Manuel and Tim Kerner Jr. So we got to wait another 6 weeks before we find that out. Ricky Templett's 28% probably helped trigger that runoff between the two front runners. I do want to quickly touch on the amendments. Any shockers with that? I mean, it's no across the board, most likely.
No. So basically, what happened is the governor and the state legislature misread the will of the people and the opinions of the people, and this was a case of overreach. They tried to make large structural changes to the Constitution, but I think there was a very strong mandate that the people don't want that. So hopefully the governor and the legislature will go back to the drawing board, and if they want to make changes, put together a more rational set of amendments with simpler language that the people can actually understand.
Not so broad and something, exactly, something that they can understand. Exactly. Well, Dr. Collins, Dillon University professor, political analyst, we thank you for coming on here. A pretty exciting election night. Not a ton of stuff on the ballot, but definitely some surprises there.